A very warm welcome to all of you. Today, we're going to meet two award winning filmmakers from the PSBT Film Challenge 2021. But before I introduce you to them, I really like to take this opportunity to thank PSBT for nurturing these creative spaces for us. Because, quite frankly, they are shrinking very fast all around us. So, let me introduce you to Sukant Goel, whose film Revenge of the Bat won the jury award in the professional category, and Eshna Benegal, whose film Sour Mangoes won the award in the amateur category. And hold your breath, we also have Raghav, the scriptwriter and actor for The Revenge of the Bat. A very warm welcome to all of you, and I hope we have an interesting and exciting conversation because I have so many things to ask you and so many curiosities about these films. So, I think to begin with, both Sukant and Ishna, one by one, I'd like to know, since these films have been made, post-pandemic, or rather, I would say during the pandemic, do you think that somehow now the focus is back again on the human element? I mean, we're talking more about the idea, the script, the acting, rather than the technology of filmmaking. Sukant, what would you say?
Um, yes, I think also by the fact that uh, it's I mean really made on no budget. So and we're all in a very early stages of the filmmaking process. At least me certainly. Uh, so it ended up focusing more on the content and what we're saying. So we know that it may look a little not at par with the content that you're seeing online. It may look a little shoddy that way, but as long as there's a story that you can connect to, I think it can go somewhere. It can keep you engaged, if nothing. So yes, maybe you're right that the human element is coming back, or I don't think it can ever go away. But yeah, more and more people in the country and the younger folk I'm seeing are being educated in, or are being conscious of things like this. They can identify literally that, oh yeah, that connected me to something I saw. I think it's slightly different now, and yeah, I mean, I think yeah, that's what it is.
Ishna, what about you? I mean, we were just talking and you said that you had something else in mind for your graduate film, and you were quite heartbroken that the pandemic came and you couldn't shoot it. So, as a curiosity, what was that film about?
That film was actually it was like a 20-minute, 30-minute long script, which was about, it was also about like a comment on the political situation of unemployment and fake news, and it was somewhere in that sort of space. But as for your question about the human element, I think it's quite interesting to see actually how, on one hand, with the pandemic and in general, people have so much free time now that they are turning to their devices to create things, which is why even things like TikTok and Instagram reels are like taking off. And on the other hand, also, because of technology, we are really moving forward in like the professional filmmaking space as well. So it's weird that these two things are kind of coming apart, but I feel like that way more stories are being accessed by people who know those stories. People are authentically being able to have the resources to tell those stories, and I think that has more value than anything else at this point. So I feel the human perspective, is probably, I don't think it's returning, it's taking on a new, like,
It's evolving, you would say.
evolving. Yeah.
I mean, to me personally, I feel it's also this huge democratization, if I could use the word. Like, I have a story and I will tell it. And whether it's through a TikTok video or through my phone or through a WhatsApp, but I have a story to tell and I will tell it. And I'm not going to be bound by a budget or anything else. So I find that quite fascinating because I think, I mean, I can hide behind my salt and pepper hair and say for our generation, the film was budget and about theek hai, ye kaise hoga, wo kaise hoga. So the stories kind of never got told. So I'm really particularly happy about the fact that yes, the stories are being told. So coming back to this Revenge of the Bat from Dadar Ka Intikam, which I am completely riveted and fascinated with, I must admit. I felt during the pandemic, most of our reactions and responses were at a very personal level. Like for instance, I work with Basti children, and just when the pandemic set in, I was so paranoid that the education has stopped. How will they study? Their first generation literate, they'll never get back into school. More importantly, the midday meal was their only nutrition for the day. They're not getting that. Schools are shut. So, I felt that all of us kind of responded to the pandemic at that personal level. And what was very interesting about the Revenge of the Bat, Sukant, was that you're in Bombay, and the story is about this little boy in a tower, in a small place in UP, in a madrasa. So, was it something you had thought of earlier, or how did it come about?
Essentially, it's Raghav's germ, because we were well into a couple of months into lockdown, and theaters were shut, and our place got shut down. Temporarily, and I wasn't personally motivated to do anything in particular. There were a lot of readings going on online, and I'm generally not a very I'm not a moth to a computer. I try and stay away. But when this so Rage, there's a production in Bombay, theater production called Rage, which is run by Rajit Kapoor, Shahnaz Patel, and Rahul Dakunia. And I've done a lot of theater work with them before. So they came up with this concept wherein they asked a few writers to write monologues for the stage. And then they got some directors to take these scripts up and say, and made a rule like you're going to take one actor, one camera, and one take, and do the monologue. Yeah. So how you do it is up to you. So, and I still wasn't very sure, but when I think Raghav suggested my name to them, that ask Sukant to maybe direct it, and I read the script, and it was so compelling that I said, okay, this one. And the main thing was that I laughed a lot when I read it. Like I laughed at something, piece of text after a long time in the lockdown. So and yeah, and it was yeah, and so we said, okay, let's do it, and that really was the reason to do it. But yes, I mean that Raghav understands that area, that region very well. He's from Moradabad. I'm from Muzaffarnagar in UP. So we share a certain commonality in terms of region and its social construct. So it kind of fell into the lap a little bit, but
अभी वो लहजा इतना परफेक्ट है.
हाँ, वो राघव मुरादाबाद से है, तो उसने कुछ वहीं का कुछ पकड़ा है.
बहुत बढ़िया. So Raghav, then obviously we have to come to you now. So was it something that you had been thinking about mulling over, or was it really like the monologue happened when you were asked to write it?
Actually, it happened when the Rage production has asked me to write something, maybe a monologue which they can perform, we can perform as a performance, which Sukant told ki one camera, one shot, and with one actor. So I said I will do it. Okay, definitely, काफी मजा आएगा. Then at that point of time, I was reading a lot the newspapers, and that happened during actually when the first lockdown just begun. That Janta curfew and Tablighi Jamaat thing. So that was on my mind first of all. So that created a base for it, the political thing which I wanted to maybe the germ that started from there. Then where I stay, there is a this madrasa right behind my house. So they used to do such announcements in the night, 9:30, 10. which I used to find very interesting. So I thought, yeah, this is a very nice idea. So I started thinking about the kids which must be living there. What was their life like? Because children come there from different states, from Bihar, UP, Hyderabad, and they were stuck there. Though I haven't really been into the madrasa, but because my father is a Muslim stepfather, so I asked him a lot of questions about madrasa. Ki, how's life there? What's what it's like? Then I started researching a bit about the institution and how kids stay there like a hostel. Then from there, I think, and uh, simultaneously, then this news of whole bat story in every city that bats are attacking and stay away from the trees. So
Absolutely.
that really fascinated me. So just from there, I've started developing it, discussing with friends, and yeah, that's how it paved the way for the story. Then obviously, draft drafts uske hote rahe, so multiple draft. When Sukant came on board, he gave some very interesting suggestions to how we can culminate it. So that's how the whole script uh, got into.
So while you were cooking the story, then you were getting inputs from others also. But
But yeah,
I said while the story was being cooked, you
yeah,
were taking inputs. But I suppose the fact that you were there physically in a
correct,
space
correct, correct.
that really lends to the credibility and adds to the authenticity of not just the story.
Yeah,
And interestingly, you say a lot of things which are very, very important
hmm,
in terms of social comments
correct.
of our times, but you say them, of course, in a very simple
Hmm,
manner,
hmm,
which I will come back to. But first, Eshna, what about you? So I find it very interesting that, first of all, that you had your grandmother. That's your grandmother, Eshna?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
She was
Absolutely.
very sweet.
I know. I just loved her.
Quite the star.
Quite the star. I just love her expressions. Absolutely beautiful. So, Ishna, like you said, you wanted to do your graduate film on issues of unemployment, etc. And this little gem of a film also turns out to be on on something really, I don't know, maybe history will judge it better, because I really feel that we are too much into this right now emotionally to be
Yeah.
really be able to see it in a perspective or a context.
Yeah.
So, how did this story grow, evolve, germinate?
It was actually it happened like years prior to this,
Oh,
because the text that's at the end of the film I had written, I don't know, I think about a year and a half ago, just because I like at night I write like that's
oh,
how it kind of came about. And we were well past like our creative kind of brainstorming moment when our college told us ki, here you go, like now make a film in the lockdown. So I racked my brains, didn't find an answer, and then suddenly it came to me that I written this and I still like the way that it reads, so why not? And it's rather visual, like what I had written,
yes,
without
yes.
knowing that I wanted to ever make it into a film. Then I was like, this fits very well into the current context. And then slowly I had to figure out how to visualize it, which in itself was difficult because for me I felt the text was complete. And I was like, now if the text is complete, what visuals can I build from it? And of course all I had was my house and like the road outside. So then of course eventually I was like, let's keep it as simple as possible and then play with what I feel I can play with most, which is sound. So yeah, that's how I kind of it came to be.
Yeah, I think that's the other thing about both the films. It's really the way the sound has been used, or the use of space, which makes them so direct. I mean, I really feel they're so direct and immediately, you kind of strike a chord with them. I mean, a grandmother and a granddaughter eating mangoes while watching TV is something which is so ordinary. But I think as when we look at documenting the pandemic, it would really be a part of that. That how because this is really one of the major issues that was bothering all of us at that point of time. I also like the way you use the shot of the tree in the beginning and then you have its shadow. What were you trying to say? Because I have my own view on it. What were you trying to say?
I didn't attribute too much meaning to it, actually.
Okay. It's always the reader kind of viewer who
Yeah, usually.
meaning.
And I feel as though for me, the reason for that was the words that I had written, which again comes at the end. The text was it was my Bible. I was just following the text that I had written. And I had separated emotion from it. I was like, this is the text. We're not changing it. Let's go with this. And it opens with something along the lines of it's a summer afternoon. The dogs are lazing around, something, whatever. So to bring about that mood is the reason why I chose to put these shots. But I didn't essentially have any symbolism or any other meaning attached to it.
Okay, all right. Coming back to you, Sukant and Raghav, did you at any point while making the film feel that you were treading on thin ice and you would probably have to rethink?
Regarding what we were saying at certain points.
Yes, regarding the content.
Yes. So I think that kind of phase happened when we were reworking the script or the drafts, because we both shared the views that we wanted to kind of put out there. But we were also sure that in essence, it shouldn't look like the exposition of our thoughts, and it shouldn't look like we're trying to engineer that thought there just because we want to say it. We kept going back to the first reaction that I had to the script, which was the innocence of the boy that hit me. So we said, okay, let's keep that. That's the essence. 7-8 minutes. How will he say? And it has to be something which is happening to him. Only then will he say it in an honest fashion, and that honesty can be right, wrong, or unclear. But it has to happen to him, and then just be a little smart about it. We didn't have to take anything back. I don't think we really omitted anything. We put everything out there, but just by, I guess, just being a little smart and saying it through him, keeping it minimal so that it just glances by. I mean, just glance by it and then you move on with the story.
Yeah. Before you register, you already kind of moved on to the next thing. Which again, of course, since we come back to Raghav, okay. So Raghav, two things. To me personally, the way the camera was used, the claustrophobia of being in that space, stuck in that space, really came through. But more importantly, the acting. So Raghav, how difficult was it to act as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old?
Yeah, we imagine.
And be convincing about it.
Between 8 and 14. 8 to 14.
Yeah.
Anything from 8 to 14.
Yeah. So initially, it was a very difficult task to portray that innocence of a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old boy. But then I was not sure about it. How to, will it come across as that innocent? चालू ना लगे, ऐसा ना लगे कि चालू humor कर रहे हैं, joke मार रहे हैं. So, but उसमें Sukant really helped me actually in the performance. So we treated it like we do in theater actually. We did a lot of exercises, workshops, and that we generally do in theater in rehearsals. What is the meaning behind every line, and कितना कहना चाहिए, कितना नहीं कहना चाहिए. Then because Sukant was in Mumbai and I was in my hometown in Moradabad, so I used to shoot every rehearsal and send it to Sukant. WhatsApp it. Then Sukant used to give me his suggestions कि that वो ठीक कर उसमें थोड़ा ऐसा लग रहा है. तो मतलब तो उसमें actually while performing it एक time पे when I was shooting it, because I have rehearsed it so much that it became very organic for me while shooting it, because I have to handle the camera, but it didn't felt like that I was doing much of
जबरदस्ती का नहीं है, just
बहुत ही flawless था वो actually. तो मैंने इनफैक्ट जिस दिन हम शूट भी कर रहे थे हमने 3-4 टेक ले लिए. मैंने कहा कि 10 मिनट्स का ही तो है, मतलब धक 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 धक, तो 3-4 टेक लेता हूँ, जो अच्छा लगेगा वो हम चुन लेंगे. तो
okay.
जैसा हम रिहर्सल करते हैं वैसा ऐसा. तो
I think कि तुम्हें बहुत मजा आया करने में और वो
अरे
दिखता है.
बहुत मजा आया, बहुत मजा आया.
Adds to it that both of you had fun while really
Yeah. We had a lot of fun.
filmmaking process. So I think also we are running out of time. So Eshna, just coming back to you, and how did you need to persuade your grandmother to be part of the film, or was she like, yes, of course?
She was excited. She's quite camera friendly. So she was very excited. Her only complaint was I didn't let her eat the mangoes because I needed continuity. So I was like, you wait, I'll tell you when you can eat the mangoes. But she continued to eat the mangoes, which is when I got some of those shots.
Really. And was again, coming back to the expressions. I mean, when she asks you to change the channel, and I mean, for me, it was so telling because that's what all of us were doing. I mean, we couldn't handle it, and all of us was really changing channels because it was too much to take, and the guilt was too much, the emotional trauma was too much. So, did you need to do takes with her, or was it just very spontaneous?
I had to do takes with her, but I could not go over 3. She would lose her patience. But yeah, I still did try my best to push her to do stuff because again, like when you're working with other people who know films, they understand. But for her, so it was basically like going back to basics, like how we had first started learning how to make films, and being taught how to make films, and going back to that, and then kind of tapping into not having equipment, not having this, not having people. So I was in the film as well, so shooting myself, then running, placing, then saying action, then asking her like it was a lot. So yeah, we did have to take takes, but yeah, she had fun, so it's okay.
So now that you won this award, tell me, does it hurt less not to have done your masterpiece?
I don't know. That's a great question. I have no idea because it came as a shock and it's still like that only. Like I haven't thought much about it. But yeah, it's nice to know that it's going in a certain direction. Like my own filmmaking is going in a certain direction, and because it's such a simple film, I was very afraid that I don't have enough stuff to kind of communicate what I wanted to communicate. But it seems to still have worked, so I'm happy about that. The fact that it works is more of it's more than just the award.
I think also that that kind of brings me back to my initial point that ultimately these are stories that we want to tell and we connect with and we relate to, and I'm sure in a few years people are going to make their magnum opuses on the pandemic and dissect it and analyze it. But right now, I think these are stories really from our hearts, and that is what matters. And I think that's what makes them so poignant and so real and something you can relate to. I think it is time for us to bid goodbye. I am so happy to have met both of you and to have seen the films. I thoroughly enjoyed them. And all the very best to you, Sukant, Raghav, and Eshna for all your future work. Thank you so much for being with us.